Welcome back. Friday will mark 10 years since a white supremacist attacked the Sikh Temple in Oak Creek. 7 worshippers died and more would have if it weren't for the actions of an Oak Creek police lieutenant. Joyce Garbasiak now sitting down with Brian Murphy as he reflects on the attack, the changes it brought to his life, and the continued mass shootings in America.
It's coming up on your 1-year anniversary.
To see Brian Murphy today,
I'm glad you're back.
You'd never know how close to death he came. Critically injured in the line of duty, he works now offering true empathy to other police officers hurt on the job as well.
Almost every officer who's been involved in that feel like they're out on an island all by themselves. And people say, I know what you're going through, but unless you were actually shot or stabbed in the line of duty, you don't.
On this day, presenting a commendation to a Greenfield police officer shot on the job last year.
I can't thank you enough for what you've done. And if you need anything, you got my number.
He does this through his work with Armor Express, the company that made the bullet-resistant vest that helped save his life almost 10 years ago. Sunday morning, August 5th, 2012. Then Police Lieutenant Brian Murphy, working solo, responded to the Sikh Temple grounds in Oak Creek to confront an active shooter. By the time backup arrived,
where's Murphy? We don't know where Murphy is!
Murphy lay bleeding on the ground, shot 15 times after a gun battle on the parking lot with a white supremacist. The exchange captured on his own squad's dash cam. By getting the gunman out of the temple, Murphy saved many lives. After being shot by another officer, the gunman took his own life. He had killed 7 worshipers in all.
I'm laying in the hospital and I'm watching the news, and the president of the temple says we forgive him. If they can forgive, and let's not kid each other, I didn't forgive spit. But I learned that I can't change that. I can't change that day, I can't change him, but I'm not gonna let him win by dictating my life because of what he did to me.
We should follow the example of a police officer named Brian Murphy.
Murphy received national recognition for his heroism. But in 2013, after 28 years in law enforcement, he retired. Miss it at all?
Used to.
Now he travels the country, speaking at law enforcement seminars about the temple shooting and post-traumatic stress.
It's just building resilience and understanding the only thing you can control is you. And beyond that, it's how you react to everything that's going to make the difference on whether it's good or bad.
When you see the video of all the Uvalde officers gathering in the school hallway and not forging into that classroom, what is your reaction?
If you hear the sounds of shots, then you have to go stop the sounds of shots. But if the shots stop, then it becomes a hostage situation. That's a different tactic. Once the second round of shots started going off, action had to have been taken. Somebody should have formulated a plan. And if you're running from shots, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be there in the first place. And I do look at this and I think, how do you live with yourself knowing that you didn't do your job? How do you wake up in the morning, look yourself in the eye in the mirror and go, I'm good with what I did?
He knows his work matters, like when a Connecticut officer who had been to one of his seminars told him,
you were the reason why I ran into Sandy Hook. I remember everything you said and everything you did, and I thought to myself, that's what I'm gonna be, and that's what I'm gonna do.
It's been more than 7 years since Sandy Hook, and the mass shootings keep happening in America. Uvalde, Texas, Buffalo, New York, Highland Park, Illinois, among the latest reviving the gun control debate.
What do you think when you see those stories?
I think it's just too complex of an issue to figure out in a 3-point bulletin, this is the reason these happen. I just don't think it's that simple. There's mental health aspects, there's environmental aspects, there's bullying. I really don't want to get into a whole gun talk because then people automatically assume you're either this or that. I don't believe there's a need to have a 100-round magazine. I don't. But I also believe you have a right to own a weapon. And it really comes down to, yeah, but who's using it? If you look at the grand spectrum and you say, well, all these homicides happen because of weapons. Okay, but were they legal? Because I have no problem going through a background check. I have no problem anybody else going through a background check. But those are not normally the guns that are killing people. Honestly, I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
It almost feels a little defeatist, though, so we just have to accept the new reality and that's it.
Where's personal responsibility in any of this? Before you blame everything, you have to find out why. What is the impetus to make people do this? Find out the whys, and then we'll know, all right, that this gives us a strategy to combat it.
Murphy will speak at the vigil to mark the 10th anniversary of the Temple shooting.
That's the only thing I can talk about is, man, we got to move on. We don't forget those people who died simply because somebody didn't like the way they looked or had a different ideology. But we can't let the legacy of the horribleness of that day outweigh the good that everyone here has done and everyone's willing to do.
Joyce Garbasiak reporting. Murphy is 60 and still needs regular injections in his throat to help his voice because bullets damaged his vocal cords that day. He also suffered gunshot wounds to his chest, hand, and legs. Murphy is among the people who will speak at a vigil at the Sikh Temple this coming Friday, the 10th anniversary of the attack. Up next, Wisconsin's black vote. Advocates out this weekend and the concerns voters may stay home.